Yes, sir, ladies and gents. Once again, welcome to another Rooted in Sports Tuesday. I am your boy Swan Dunn. We're gonna have King Tiberius hopping on in just a short second, but we're gonna kind of keep it real simple, real sweet today. Obviously, we're gonna give our recaps of NFL championship weekend and the AFC and NFC games. We're both championship games over the weekend. We're gonna give our thoughts. Um, give a quick little overview of some of the storylines leading into the Super Bowl, um, and the NBA All Star starters were announced, and so just gonna talk about a couple of snubs that I think as far as for the starters that were announced in each conference. Um, I know it was a little tough this year because there are a lot of NBA players that are playing at an elite level. We got guys having career years. The MVP race this year in the NBA is probably as wide open as it's been in a long time. So yeah, we gonna hit that real quick. Little NFL championship weekend recap. And yeah, guys, that's it, man. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks for everyone that's going to tune in. And let's get into this intro. And just like that, we are back. We are back on this Tuesday evening. Like I said, we're gonna keep it really kind of as short as possible, I guess. Keep it real simple. Little championship weekend recap. But we'll get to that in a second. First, I guess I just kind of wanted to start with the NBA and the All Star Game starters being announced. The All Star Game is coming up in a couple weeks here, real soon. It's crazy. It seems like this NBA season is going by fast. Every team is already more than halfway through the season. Or they've already played more than half of their games already. I think teams are coming up close to about 50 or so games played. So a lot of basketball has been played. Still a lot of basketball left. Some of the best basketball left. I know a lot of times we really see a lot of teams really pick it up and hit their strides after that All Star break, and then try to be playing their best and healthy going into the playoffs. But the NBA All Star starters were announced, and I believe the starters um, is mostly fan voting. I know I voted myself for the All Star game and who I thought should be the NBA All Star starters, and so I'll just name them off really quickly. So in the Eastern Conference, as far as the Eastern Conference All Star starters, you have Giannis Antetokounmpo, who will be the captain of the, I guess, de facto. Well, I don't even know if you can call them East or West teams anymore because they get to kind of pick their players or whatnot. But Giannis will be the captain of one team, and then the starters, the guys that were deemed the starters from the Eastern Conference, will be Giannis Antetokounmpo, Kevin Durant, Jason Tatum, Donovan Mitchell, and Kyrie Irving. And then in the Western Conference, obviously LeBron James is the captain as he has been since they went to this format. I also think he was the leading. I think he was the leading vote getter once again this year, per usual. Um, but as far as the Western Conference starters, um, LeBron James, Nikola Jokic, Zion Williamson, Steph Curry, and Luka Doncic. So, I guess I'm gonna go ahead and take off on this, and I'm actually gonna start in the Western Conference. Um, the one name that sticks out to me as far as the Western Conference is Zion Williamson. Now, let me be clear. First of all, he's only played, I believe, 29 games. Yeah, he's only played 29 games thus far this year. And in those 29 games, he does have all-star numbers. And I think that's the thing with Zion. No one really at this point, I don't think anyone should be doubting his ability and whether he can play at an elite level and whether he can be successful and put up numbers in this league. I don't think anyone should be doubting that at this point. But I think the issue with him has always been his health, and here it is, kind of showing itself again. He's only played in 29 games this season. Now, granted, when he's been on the floor this season, New Orleans has been really good. As a matter of fact, I think at one point in the season, they had worked their way all the way up to about the second or third seed in the Western Conference, and that's while he was playing. Now, of late, I think they've lost maybe about 7 or 8 games in a row, but that's due to Zion Williamson as well as Brandon Ingram both missing substantial time now. So you've seen them kind of take a step back. Now they're back in that play-in range. But I said all that to say, while he was playing well, and the team was playing at an elite level. However, he's only played 29 games, and there are a couple guys in the Western Conference who I think slightly deserved that starting forward spot ahead of him. And I think Zion ended up getting it because of the name. But a couple guys, and I'm actually going to say first the guy that I voted for as far as for a Western Conference starter at one of the forward positions that didn't get it. And this name might surprise you, but if you're sleeping on him, you might want to wake up. Their name is Lauri Markkanen. Lauri Markkanen is having a heck of a year for the Utah Jazz. He's getting about, I want to say 24 a game. Yeah, he's averaging 24 a game, about 8.5 rebounds. He's shooting 52% from the field and 43% from the three-point line. The Utah Jazz, obviously we know they started off the year really strong. They've kind of came back to the pack, but even now they're still kind of flirting with that play-in area. And I think that this was a team coming into the season that I think everybody thought, they were going to be, tanking, playing for the lottery for that number one pick. But these guys are going out there, they're giving it their best effort. They've been playing well. They're well within that play-in range. And a big part of that has to do with Lauri Markkanen and his play. Obviously, everyone knows I'm a Chicago Bulls fan. The Bulls was the team that originally drafted him. He spent his first maybe 2 or 3 years with us, I believe, before going to, I think it was Cleveland last year, and now ultimately in Utah. But like I said, I picked him. I think he's having a heck of a season, a career season. He was a guy that I picked. Another name, as we see King Tiberius hop in here. What's going on, bro?
What's going on, brother?
Nothing much, man. I was just rambling on about a couple of the all-star starter snubs. Mm-hmm. So I started in the Western Conference, and I was just saying that the biggest. I was going to name 2 of the bigger snubs for me. Although Zion Williamson, who is a Western Conference starter, although Zion Williamson got the nod, and when he's been on the floor, obviously he's played phenomenally.
Didn't he only play like 30 games?
His health. Yeah, he's only played 29 games.
Okay.
So the issue is always his health. The first name I mentioned, who was the guy that I actually voted for as a starter in the Western Conference, was Lauri Markkanen.
I was going. Okay. I'm glad
he's having a heck of a season.
24 points per game.
Yep, getting about 24 and about 8 rebounds a game, shooting 52% from the field, 43 from 3. He's having you know what? And right now, for me, he's the most improved player in the league. For me, Lauri Markkanen, because no one seen this coming from him. Nobody, But I think we talked about this a while back. He did play during the summer. He played. I believe he's with the Swedish team, I think he's with the Swedish team. I could be wrong, but anyway, he did play with his Olympic team over the summer. He was kind of like their de facto go-to guy, and he really worked on his game and really improved, and he came in this season with a mission, and it's paying off for him. And so that probably would have been my starter. And then another guy that I put in that forward position in the Western Conference. Before I toss it over to you, another guy who deserves some consideration is Domantas Sabonis from
Okay.
Sacramento. I mean,
I feel like we.
Hey, he's getting 18 and 12, and I believe like 7 assists, I think. About 18, 12, and about 7 assists a game for a Sacramento team who's another team that's surprising everyone. I believe they're about third or fourth in the West right now. Far better than anyone thought they would. They finally seem to be reaching that potential that everybody's been saying they'd get to for the past couple years. And I know we talked about them a few episodes back. But yeah, I think Sabonis is a huge reason for that. Outside of Jokic, he may be the best passing big man in the league right now. Obviously, outside of Jokic. But yeah, that was my thoughts as far as the Western Conference. I don't know if you had anything before I talk about the Eastern Conference. I don't know if you had anything.
Did you mention Shea?
Oh, I mean, obviously there's another snub right there. He's getting over 30 a game.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he's getting over 30 a game. And I don't see how he's not. I don't see how. And because who started over him? Steph?
So, I mean, that's now there's the thing. And that's why I didn't mention him as far as the guards, because the two starting guards are Steph Curry and obviously Luka Doncic, who just put up 53 last night.
Okay, so can we agree that even though Steph is Steph, can we agree that there's a fair argument that Shea's probably had the better season?
Oh, absolutely. I think if you were to put Shai Gilgeous in and Steph didn't start, I wouldn't have an issue with it.
Right.
And even looking at them, stats are fairly similar. And I think their records aren't too far. I think Golden State has a slightly better record. They might be 1 or 2 games over 500. Vice OKC is a little bit under 500, but their records aren't extremely different.
Right.
But once again, this is as far as the starters, this is kind of a fan vote thing, and Steph's the name. And that's the same thing with Zion Williamson. It's a fan vote thing, and Steph's the name. Laurie, and although Sabonis has made a couple All-Star teams in the East, I mean, they're not the name that Zion is. And I think ultimately one of those guys will probably, I'm sure both of those guys should be reserves. Well, when the reserves are announced, and one of those guys will probably be starting, because I don't think Zion's going to end up playing in the All-Star game anyway. But no, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's having a. But I mean, there's a lot of guys, and once again, we'll really see once the reserves come out.
Right.
But those 3 guys, SGA, Sabonis,
Lauri
Markkanen, if those 3 guys aren't All-Star game reserves, it's a travesty. And we'll see when it comes out, but it's a travesty.
So I'm interested to see what you got for us on the Eastern Conference. I'm sure we probably got some of the same people.
Okay,
but let's see. Talk to me.
In the Eastern Conference, and I said the names. The starters will be Giannis, who will be the other team captain. You got Kevin Durant, Jason Tatum, Donovan Mitchell, Kyrie Irving. Okay, so first of all, the obvious big snub as far as the starters will probably be Joel Embiid.
Right?
Not starting. What I've heard some people say he should start over Jason Tatum. I've heard some people say he should start over Kevin Durant. Here's my thing. First of all, Jason Tatum is the best player on the best team, and although Embiid's numbers are slightly better, Jason Tatum is still having a career year. So I have no quarrel with him starting. Okay, I'll go to Kevin Durant.
Okay, go ahead.
Although Kevin Durant has missed like the last maybe 2 weeks or so, I think that A, Kevin Durant has played enough games, and B, when he was playing, they were at an all-star. He was playing at an MVP level. Up until it hasn't really been up until recently, and Philadelphia just had their 7-game win streak snapped yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't up until recently where Philly really kind of seemed to have hit their stride. But at the point where Kevin Durant got hurt, they were the number 2 seed in the East in the midst of a 13-game win streak with Kevin Durant. So we were seeing him play great ball. He's flirting. Once again, Kevin Durant is flirting with another 50, 40, 90 season. Okay. We're seeing him play great ball, as efficient as usual. And while he was playing, we seen a team who I think everybody except myself had very low expectations for, or lower-ish expectations for. Nobody thought they would be, toward the top of the Eastern Conference. Mm-hmm. But at the stage that he got hurt, they were second, and now, they've dropped a couple, but they're still in fourth. They're still, I think they're 31-19, so they're still like 12 games above 500. So that's why I didn't have a problem with them going with Tatum and Durant ahead of Embiid. But obviously Embiid, if there is a huge snub in the Eastern Conference, obviously Embiid will probably be one of them.
I would argue that Jaylen Brown should have made it.
So if you take Jaylen Brown, who do you take out?
Kyrie Irving.
Hypothetically.
Kyrie Irving.
Okay. Now here's another name, and maybe this is me. For me, All-Star games, one of the things with All-Star games is that I like to see guys who haven't been there before, or who aren't the big names, but I like to see them get recognition. Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna throw out another name that I think deserved some starter consideration, and he's another guy who I think should be an All-Star game reserve, and that's Tyrese Halliburton from the Indiana Pacers.
That is right.
He's getting 20 and 10. He's leading. Well, once James Harden is eligible, James Harden will be leading the league in assists probably. But right now, Tyrese Halliburton is leading the league in assists. He's getting over 10 assists a game. He's getting about 20 points a game, and he's another guy who his injury has directly affected their team's success. Because they were like a top 6 seed. The Pacers were, prior to him getting hurt lately and missing these last few games. Now they've into that play-in pack or whatever. But they're another team that while he was healthy and playing, they were overachieving. And I mean, Tyrese Halliburton is having a heck of a season. And when the reserves are announced, there's no reason why he shouldn't be one of those reserves.
Okay, I can see that. Tyrese Halliburton. He was one of the names that I queued up. So you don't think Jaylen Brown should make it over Kyrie Irving? He doesn't like it.
I don't have any. I don't have.
He's the second best. He's the second best player on the best team.
And that's the thing too. I mean, and obviously Kyrie is the second best player on his team. I mean, if Jaylen Brown was a starter, I mean, would I don't know. That's a little 50-50 for me, I guess. I guess I look at it like this. If that's the case, then I really would have thought that I would rather have Tyrese Halliburton as a starter than Jaylen Brown, because Tyrese Halliburton is clearly the best player on what at the time before his injury was a real surprise team, in the Eastern Conference. They were over 500. They were playing some really good ball. They were in that top 6 for a team that nobody expected to be doing that well. They're a really young team. Nobody expected them to be doing that well. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, if they had started, to answer your question, I probably still would start Kyrie over Jaylen Brown. And I love Jaylen Brown. He's having a great season, but I probably would have still started Kyrie over him.
You know what? I'm gonna tell you my honest belief.
Okay.
I think the NBA All-Star game is poo cheese. Like, I think it's terrible. And I'm gonna tell you this.
What?
I think the NBA All-Star game,
like the actual game. Wait, the actual game itself,
the selection process, I think is worse than the NFL's Pro Bowl.
Wait a minute.
Yeah. The NBA All-Star game is worse than the NFL Pro Bowl. In the selection, Wait.
The same NFL Pro Bowl that just named boy from Baltimore as a reserve. His name. I can't even get his name. The same one that named Huntley as a reserve.
It's because
today.
It's because nobody wanted it. From my understanding, the only reason he got chosen as a reserve is because the options were so few and far between in the AFC.
I mean, but he has 2 touchdowns on the season. He has 2 touchdowns on the season.
Look, I'm very confident there's some reason as to why he was a reserve.
At least in the NBA, you can argue whether a person should be a starter or not, but it's
the NFL. The NFL have a few head scratchers, but the NBA is just like, oh, big name, we don't care. Like Zion played 29 games and is a starter.
Huntley has 2 touchdowns.
But you can't compare. No. You can't compare a backup to a guy that's supposed to be like a big time superstar who only played 29 fucking games. Granted, he was balling when he played those 29 games. So you're talking about a reserve. Zion is a starter.
I mean, so I do have my issues as far as some of the voting, because I think a lot of times with NBA fans, especially because the starters are voted for by the NBA fans, I think a lot of times, there's a lot of casual fans that vote. And so once certain superstars get a name for themselves or get to a certain level,
they'll just
automatically get that vote. Whereas they're not seeing a guy like a Lauri Markkanen, like a Tyrese Halliburton, who are really playing extremely well for their teams, best players on their teams, having career years. But and although they probably will be named reserves, they're not getting the full recognition they might deserve, because another name who isn't having quite that type of impact as they are has a bigger name than them. So I do take issue as far as with the fan voting sometimes when it comes to the starters. But I mean, I don't know. I thought you were talking about the actual game, because I was going to say the NBA All-Star game, the game itself rarely disappoints.
No.
We're not even going to talk about the Pro Bowl, which is now the flag football.
I'm talking about the selection process, but yeah, it is flag football now. But I'm talking about the selection process. I think for the NBA, it's terrible because we see so many really good players get snubbed every year. Now the NFL, it naturally is going to be snubs because it's more players, but I think a lot of times they get it right.
And see, this is my problem with the NFL too. Like, and I know it's a physical game. I know that. But a lot of those guys, like a lot of the better players, like look at the quarterbacks. Like I understand the ones who obviously, if you were in the NFC Championship or if you're going to the Super Bowl for obvious reasons, okay. But I mean, what about the guys that they just like, I'm not going to play. Like, I think that's one of the issues with the NFL Pro Bowl game is that so many of the stars are just like, I'm good. I'm not doing that. Or you got guys like, and I can't necessarily blame them, but you got guys like a Tom Brady or an Aaron Rodgers who at this point in their careers are just above that.
Of course. And like, what's the point?
Yeah, exactly. They're just above that. And I think, unfortunately, it kind of backfires on the league, because in a game that's already a little watered down because they don't want anyone hurt, now you couple that with the fact that if I'm a paying fan and I go to Honolulu or to Tampa, wherever they want to do it, if I go there for that game and now I got, Tyler Huntley, you know what I'm saying, playing, it's like, what am I paying for? First of all,
I don't think he's in one of the reserves anymore because Derek Carr just got voted in. So I don't think Tyler Huntley's in there. I think he was just on the.
I think it's Herbert, Carr, and Huntley. I think it's Herbert, Carr, and Huntley. Which I mean, I don't know. I mean, I was going through my brain. Like, I'd have took Kenny Pickett before I took Huntley. At least Kenny Pickett played more games. You know what I'm saying? I'd have took I don't know. I couldn't. I was, and when I seen it, I
Oh,
was
and
trying to
you're and
ramble,
you're right.
and I was trying to ramble through my brain, like who else could it? I mean,
Let
Mike
me shut
White.
up.
I don't know. Like I don't know. Like who could they have took?
Hey,
You know,
hey,
Matt
let me
Ryan. Who were they gonna take?
let me shut up. Let
Yeah,
me
man.
look. We might go ahead and need to move on to the next topic. I see that. I'm like, dang, because I heard I knew there was something that they was considering, or he was in consideration for it. I know they talked about it like 1 to 2 months ago when Pro Bowl voting first started, but
Hmm.
he's going. He's going to the games. Josh Allen's not going.
Yeah. So,
Damn.
and
Well,
that,
okay,
that's what I'm saying. Like,
he's just
guys, like,
he's just one case though.
yeah. I mean,
But
I
four
don't know.
games,
And you know what? I'm gonna say, and I know we're about to we're moving on. Obviously, guys, that was our take on some of the NBA All Star starter snubs, and obviously with the unfortunate close coming to the NFL
wow.
season, and it flew by.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, you're gonna see us get more and more real heavy into some of some heavy NBA topics. So just be on the lookout for that, man. We definitely gonna dive into the NBA. Next, we're obviously gonna get into a little bit of a recap of the NFL championship weekend. Obviously, we seen the Eagles come out on top against the San Francisco 49ers, and we seen the Kansas City Chiefs with the last second field goal come out on top against the Cincinnati Bengals. Obviously, we're gonna get into that, but real quickly, I wanted to ask you about a little bit of. I just wanted to ask you about two of the hires today. You had um, Sean Payton deal being worked out with the New Orleans Saints, where Sean Payton is about to become the new head coach of the Denver Broncos.
Mm-hmm.
And then you had the Houston Texans, a team who you see me just kind of annihilate a few weeks ago.
Right.
They come back, take a
D'Amico Ryan.
chance on, yet another African American head coach with a long term deal, with a 6-year deal. So just really quickly, I wanted to ask you, what were your thoughts on both hirings?
Well, first of all, I will say this. Although we can agree that the way that they've handled Lovey Smith and I always forget the guy's name because
David
he's
Culley.
David Culley, right? Because we
Hmm.
don't really know too much about him before he got the job.
Right.
But the way they handled them was not a little bit, it was very unfair.
Hmm.
Um, the difference is one, D'Amico Ryans is a much hotter. He's high in demand. The Broncos were also.
I,
He was
wa-
a
I was just going to say,
yeah
apparently, the Broncos made a last ditch effort at him before finding out he was going to take the Houston job, and then they went ahead and made the deal for Peyton.
for Sean Payton. Um, but D'Amico Ryans is their guy. He was a Houston Texan for 5 years. He was actually, we can honestly say, in the existence of their franchise, he's one of the best defensive players to ever play for that franchise.
Hmm.
So it's really just coming home for him, and leading a franchise that he did some good things for early in his career, in his playing career. I think it's going to be a great fit. They do have some pieces there, but they're going to have to give him 3 to 4 years to really put something together. It's not going to be
Hmm.
immediate. That's a team that's devoid of talent. But the cool thing is he's going to get there and he's going to be able to get his quarterback, right? Whether it be a Bryce Young or
Yeah,
a CJ Stroud. So
exactly.
he'll get to choose his quarterback. He's not stuck with anybody else.
And
There,
hopefully, him being a defensive guy, hopefully he gets a really good offensive mind, offensive coordinator, or some in there to
I
really kind of.
I bet money he's taking somebody from the 49ers staff with him. I guarantee it.
Okay.
Yeah, he's probably is. As far as Sean Payton, I felt like this was going to happen. I felt like it was either going to be Denver or Arizona for him because, they didn't fire. I felt like the Chargers job was, if there was a dream or an ideal fit, that would have been it. But
Yeah,
once they didn't fire
agreed.
Brandon Staley, it kind of, okay, you're either going to choose Denver or you're going to choose Arizona. first of all, nobody, and I think you've even seen Sean Payton say this. You know, he goes on Colin Cowherd's show all the
Yeah,
time.
I love his segments on the show.
Yeah, his segments are great, very insightful. But you can kind of tell he wasn't really feeling the Kyler Murray
situation.
Yeah, I mean, it's a shit show. Granted, they got a new general manager, but Kyler Murray
he's probably gonna miss the majority of next year anyway.
He's gonna miss time, right? Has a slew of leadership, intangible issues. So I don't think that was ideal. Now, for him to go to Denver, to tell you the truth, Denver kind of has a ready-made roster to win now.
They do. The pieces are there.
The pieces are
changing
there.
Culture.
Yeah, they need to hit a few pieces in the draft. Granted, they don't have a lot of draft capital, but they do a few things in free agency. Do draft well, which, by the way, is one underrated skill, one underrated area of Sean Payton that a lot of people don't realize. He is phenomenal at scouting talent. He was the guy that went and grabbed and saw Alvin Kamara and picked him in the third round. Because Alvin Kamara was sharing. People forget Alvin Kamara was good at Tennessee, but nobody was really like, oh, Alvin Kamara coming out of the draft. No, he shared carries at Tennessee, and Sean Payton scouts him. I'll always give him. I'm a Cowboys fan. Sean Payton discovered Tony Romo. A lot of people don't know that he scouted Tony Romo. He's one of the. As a matter of fact, he tried to bring Tony Romo to New Orleans with him, and they blocked that. So he's really good at scouting and evaluating talent. So I don't think it's going to be an issue for them. It's a good fit. Long story short. Now, what I'm interested in seeing is how is he going to build that relationship dynamic with Russell Wilson and some of his, because just as much as we talked about Kyler Murray, I think we can go ahead and say that Russell Wilson is probably a little arrogant in his own right too.
Oh yeah, it's been fairly widely reported now. He has the office in the complex and all that. So yeah, it's been pretty widely reported there. I pretty much echo your sentiments. I just hope Houston goes against what we've seen them do and truly give DeMeco Ryans a chance, a fair shot to turn that around, because he's one of their own. Like you said, he's one of the better defensive players they've had in their team history. So I hope they give him a shot to actually turn it around, because that isn't a 1 year turnaround thing. No, like you said, they got the number 2 pick. Their quarterback will be there for them. The Bears aren't, unless the Bears trade the pick or whatever. Their quarterback will be there for them.
He has pieces to work with.
Oh yeah,
he has pieces to work with. Damian Pierce, you got a runner.
We love the running back, yeah.
And that safety, Jalen Petrie, he's a stud. Number 5. I think he was one of the league leaders. I think he led the league in tackles. He had 147 tackles, 5 interceptions. He's a rookie at a Baylor. Right? So they got some pieces there that he can work with. He just has to, draft his quarterback and then, implement his scheme. So it's going to be fun. I think that's going to be one of the funner teams to watch. I love watching rebuilds.
And then I think Sean Payton, he's going to demand respect from the moment, he steps, in that Denver facility. And I think innately Russell, obviously they're going to go back to the drawing board with Russell Wilson. I don't think, obviously he had a terrible season. Let me just say that. Obviously Russell Wilson played bad. However, I don't think it was all on him. I think a lot of it, I think a nice percentage of it did have something to do with the leadership there, with the coach that was there, and him not necessarily being ready for that type of responsibility, being equipped to deal with that personality, the individual that from all reports Russell Wilson has become. Right. So now you got a guy coming in there who is going to demand respect, who's earned respect around this league, a guy who everybody is confident in, who they knows what he's talking about. And I think Russell will get on board. I think this is a great hire for them. I think Russell will get back at least a little closer to the Russ Wilson we've seen And yeah, I think he'll have a solid season. He'll get Javonte Williams back at running back. Obviously, they got Sutton and Judy. They got some weapons. So Noah Font. So I think they'll get back to pretty similar. I think
They
Russ will
could be
get back pretty similar to
they
what
could be
he was.
and let me say this. You know what? This is let's go ahead. I'm gonna tell you my favorite part of Sean Payton coming. And I know they're still working on a deal right now. Is that they get Vic Fangio back, and that locker room loves Vic Fangio.
And the defense really hasn't lost a step.
No, they were a top 5 unit. Factor this in. Vic Fangio was just the head coach a year ago. He's about to go a season removed. He's about to return as the defensive coordinator, and his guys are still there.
They're still there. Yep. Yeah. So I mean, fully expect them to be right back at the top of the league defensively. Few tweaks here and there, a move in free agency, a draft pick here and there, and
they're gonna have to get
there in the playoff.
They're gonna have to get a figure out because they do have a first round pick.
Denver, they just sent it. They just sent that in the deal with New Orleans. They had the 29th pick.
Oh, that's
and they just
right.
Sent that.
They did.
They lost the number 5 pick. It would have been to Seattle in the Russ deal, and now with this deal for Sean Payton. You're right, and then they traded for Chubb. They lost that one, and now with this deal for Sean Payton,
they had to send that first pick. Yeah. Well, I guess they don't. So they're gonna look. Yeah. So,
but I feel you on the edge rusher though, because they did lose Chubb. They did as you just said, they traded Chubb. So
and Randy Gregory didn't Randy Gregory.
Oh well.
Look, I'm sure Kev. Shout out to Kev. I hope you're watching that. Me and Kev had a lot of arguments about that.
But yeah, I just had to throw that out there at you, man. But we can go ahead and jump into this championship weekend recap. And I guess we can start with the first game. The Eagles made fairly easy work of the San Francisco 49ers, 31-7. For anyone that didn't watch this game, you almost felt bad for the 49ers because they won him early. His son Reddick kind of hit him on the arm or whatever, and the arm kind of went in the awkward direction. And now it's come out today that I think what was a torn UCL or something in his elbow. So he's looking at about a 6 to 8 rehab. And then they knocked the court Johnson the backup to the third string, mind you, because Purdy was already the third string guy. Then you get the backup to the third string guy. He gets concussed. And I mean, at one point they were running Wildcat, and they was about to put Christian McCaffrey behind center, and it was just they were just doomed early.
I said this, and this is before we dive deeper into the game. At some point, we got to hold Kyle Shanahan responsible for his quarterbacks. If you look at all the teams in the league, why is he the only head coach that can't keep his quarterback upright? Let's be real.
He loses
all the time.
They lose, but it don't just be like, okay, this one guy keeps getting hurt.
It'll be the starter.
Garoppolo, Lance, Mullins, Purdy,
CJ
Beathard, yeah,
they keep losing guys, and it's to the point to where you have to look at Kyle Shanahan's scheme, although it's genius, but it may leave his passer more susceptible to getting hit. Because at this point it's getting ridiculous, and we can't keep watching. And I love Kyle Shanahan. I think he's a great coach. We can't keep watching him. We can't keep watching him march up to the podium at the end of every January NFC Championship, and we had some bad luck, and we lost Brock and we lost this guy. No, you didn't protect him. Because to tell you the truth, a week ago against Dallas, they were actually hitting Brock Purdy a couple times. Like they were able to get some hats on him. So maybe it's that scheme, all that movement in the backfield. You're putting so much focus on disguising what you're doing and tricking the linebackers, just all this stuff that you're not even focused on. They protect your quarterback, and I think that's become more and more evident. There should be no reason why you're on your 4th string quarterback and even they get hurt.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Um, well, yeah, I mean, I guess you can continue on, man. What did you overall? With that being said, I mean, what were your thoughts on this game?
Um, well, okay, I'm at work. And another guy at work asked me what my thoughts was going to be or what my predictions were for the game coming in. And to tell you the truth is, I said it was going to be a blowout. Like I predicted it to be a blowout. I've long said this. I posted on social media. People got pissed off at me. I said I knew San Fran's resume was going to come back to bite them. And the truth is, you can make an argument that Dallas, who is less talented than these teams, should have beat San Francisco about a week ago. We could argue that, right? They just didn't have enough talent. They lost Tony Pollard. Philly, they have talent across the board. So San Fran wasn't going to be able to go into Philly and say, "Oh, we're just more talented than you."
No, no.
You weren't going to be able to bully them because Philly's a physical team. So you were going to have to play a team that was every bit as talented as you, where you didn't really have that many advantages. They have the best offensive line in the league. So Nick Bosa is not going to be a major factor. He's gonna get his reps, but it's not like he's going to have a field day.
And
so,
Lane Johnson, who was pretty banged up himself, did a phenomenal job on both sides.
Did a phenomenal job. So I think what I want to tell people, San Fran, is they're a good team. They've been a good team all year. They were a talented team, but they were never a big bully juggernaut that was going to play the big bads in the NFL and beat them. They were never that. They were just a really talented team that had a very weak resume. Because the truth is Dallas was their best win of the season. And before that, they really hadn't played anybody. I've maintained that all year. Oh, you're hating. I'm not hating. They just haven't played anybody. And you're watching this game like, you guys, if Brock Purdy is healthy, they still get blown out. Maybe they push.
That was going to be my biggest point. Maybe I still think, I don't know if they get blown out, but I don't know if they would have beat fully healthy. Even if they were fully healthy, I don't know if they would have beat that Philadelphia team on Saturday.
I think, okay, like Jarrell in our chat, he says, "Oh, that's not true. Brock Purdy's healthy. This is a different game." I said, "Okay, Jarrell, it's 31-14."
And that may be the case.
Yeah, and so that is really how I look at this game, man. Philly, and I'll say this, and I'm sure this is going to rub people the wrong way. If there was any argument about the MVP, who should be the MVP, I think this game showed it in regards to Jalen Hurts. He is just driving a high-performance vehicle. He's their unquestioned leader. He's an ascending player. But I think that this showed that this is when you're looking at this team and these wins, let's give Howie Roseman a hand. Jalen Hurts had 121 yards passing with 0 touchdowns. He had less than 50 yards rushing, 39 yards rushing, and 1 touchdown. And they beat San Francisco 49ers, one of the hottest teams in the NFL. They beat them 31-7. So when people are like, Jalen Hurts should be the MVP over Patrick Mahomes, could Patrick Mahomes throw for 121 yards and win a game 31-7? I don't think so. So this roster is just so jam-packed with talent on both sides of the ball. I think they said they have 8 Pro Bowlers, or is it 9 Pro Bowlers and 8 reserves? Like, they're just packed with talent. But that's my thoughts on this game. They did a really good job. This is a really good team, and to tell you the truth, they should be the favorite. We'll talk about it.
Yep.
They should be the favorites. Based off of, if we're going off of top to bottom talent, they should be the favorites, I think, heading into the Super Bowl. But I mean, very simple for me. You can tell me what you think. I thought it was a mismatch from the beginning. I kind of felt like Philly was kind of gonna have their way with them, and this was a great matchup for Philly.
Yeah, I think you hit it on the nail. I think even if Brock Purdy was healthy, I still think Philly comes out with this win. And we both picked them last week anyway. We both picked Philly anyway. Yeah. You seen what we thought to be a pretty tough physical team be outmanned, out physical, out toughed from the jump.
Mhm.
From the jump. We're going to get into in a minute the other game,
Right.
and we'll talk about Chris Jones in the game he had. But Hassan Reddick was a freak on Sunday.
Oh
Like
yeah.
Hassan Reddick was all over the place. And then and I mentioned this to you guys in the chat, man. Like their front four, like I didn't even know Sue was with them.
Yeah, Sue and
Like
Linville Joseph.
like
Look, Howie
you got
Roseman.
Munzil, bro. You got Reddick, you got Sweat, you got Brandon Graham, you got Jordan Davis, who they just took out of Georgia. You got Sue, and then like I mentioned in the chat, they got Robert Quinn, who was a year removed from 18 and a half sacks, and he barely sees the field. So like they just rotating guys in and out. It's like it's nothing.
Howie
You know?
Roseman left no stone unturned when building that football team. Not a one.
Yeah, man. But yeah, I mean, you seen them from the jump. I felt like Philly's defense came out, set the tone. Obviously, things were a little easier when you knocked Brock Purdy out the game. Things were a little easier, but they just came. I felt like the defense just flat out physical, set the tone, and then we didn't even talk about obviously they have a great secondary as well with Big Play Slay and Gardner Johnson, Bradbury, those guys back there. I mean, this is an insanely talented team, top to bottom, on both sides of the ball. Like you said, they should be favored going into the Super Bowl. Real quickly on the Niners, it is unfortunate. I hate that Purdy got hurt, so early in the game. Just as a fan, you want to see a competitive game and you want to see guys lose, with all their weapons or whatnot. Really quickly though, I think now this brings up some really interesting narratives for the 49ers moving forward in the sense of, what are they going to do at quarterback? Like, do they? I think. Well, we thought this last year, but I think for sure, Jimmy Garoppolo's gone. I think, but
Is he?
but I was just going to say. Then again, so like, what are you gonna do? You got Trey Lance who's coming back off an injury, and he should be back, but you still don't quite know what you got in Trey. You got Brock Purdy, who, okay, you kind of know what you got. You know that you can win games with this guy. But then even if you bring him back, they say 6 months, so he may miss, the beginning of the season, but who knows? And then there's Garoppolo. And I think it's just so interesting because I think if healthy, barring, some catastrophe, I think next season Trey Lance is probably your week one starter for them, just because they drafted him so high and they just spent so much for him. But I think the pressure is really going to be on him because I don't think that they get rid of Brock Purdy. And so if Brock Purdy can work back from this injury and get back to a place where he's effective, and they come out and struggle, they start 1-2 or 2-3, something like that at the beginning of the season, it's gonna be hard not to put Brock Purdy back in this game and on that field. And then furthermore, with the injury history that those two guys have, now you really have to think about, well, man, should we bring Garoppolo back again?
So
like they have some real question marks there at quarterback.
They do. And it sounds faddish, but I think Kyle is going to need to, like, going into this offseason, this roster is not going to have too much turnover. They're still going to be a really good team next year. But I think I think he needs to go all in on trying to get Tom Brady on his football team. I think that needs to be his sole purpose. Because one thing we know about Tom is Tom's not going to get hit. He's going to get rid of that ball. he probably had the one of the worst offensive lines in the league, and he was the least sacked quarterback in the league. A lot of people don't know that. He doesn't get hit, so he is gonna protect you from what your scheme currently can't protect your quarterbacks from.
Mm-hmm.
Brock, and it's unfortunate because his injury is kind of very similar to injuries we often see for baseball guys, for pitchers,
The Tommy Johns, yeah.
yeah. And the truth is we don't know how long it's going to take for him to be the same guy that we saw this year. Let's say even
if he even gets back to being that guy, yeah, because
exactly,
he's still a rookie himself.
He's still a rookie. So I guess maybe that's your hope. He's young and his body's still, he could recover faster, but that's something to think about. To be honest, I wasn't impressed with what I seen from Trey Lance. I think he's physically gifted, but he has a ugly throw motion. He's inaccurate,
And rumor is Brock Purdy had actually beat him out in the
training camp.
In training camp.
Yeah, Brock Purdy was outplaying him.
That's
well, they wanted to give a guy that they gave up so much for. They wanted to give him a shot. They wanted to take a gamble. And unfortunately, I'll tell you this right now. There's nobody happier than Trey Lance. He can sit here and say, "Look, Trey Lance can sit here and say, oh yeah, it's unfortunate for the team. Brock, that's my guy. Come on, man. Had Brock Purdy even finished that game, Brock Purdy is your starter, your week 1 starter.
Yeah.
But now it looks a lot different. So that is where they're at quarterback wise. Jimmy Garoppolo is I can make that analogy, but Jimmy Garoppolo is that person that you keep trying to get away from, maybe that toxic ex. And I can't even say toxic. They're just always there. And that's Jimmy. Like they tried to move on.
Not to say that he's a bad, because you can clearly win games with him. Will he win you the game is the question. When you get to that moment, when you get into the playoffs or in that big game, can he make enough throws to win you the game is a question. But he's proven to be a quarterback that you can win with.
I feel like he's like their good luck charm. I don't know what it is.
Garoppolo?
Oh man, I don't know. They just play it.
That very well may be the case. I mean, and we're gonna move on over to the AFC side here, but I mean, I think Derek Carr has been rumored here, but I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I wouldn't mind Garoppolo with the Jets. I think that'll be a solid fit with the Jets. They get Breece Hall back next year. He running the ball well. They got Garrett Wilson.
And I guess it would make sense because Salah's there. He had came from San Fran. So yeah. So I mean, maybe that's the area you look in, but I don't know. I think the Jets are tired of any form of quarterback mediocrity. And I think that they're going to swing bigger. But trust me, we'll go on. We'll talk a lot more moving forward about free agency and prospective moves in the offseason. But Cincinnati, Kansas City. Yeah, I'll go ahead and let you light that candle.
Obviously, Kansas City ends up taking this game 23-20 on a last possession field goal. All right, my thoughts. I guess he knows where I'm going with this. I'm going to ruffle some feathers. Okay. For those that watched the game, the linebacker Osai, I think his name is
Joseph Osai.
Patrick Mahomes is finally kind of gets out the pocket and runs, and he gets out of bounds. And Osai pushes him, after he had already kind of stepped out of bounds. He gets the flag, which is the extra 15 yards, and it makes what would have been probably a 60-yard field goal now a 40-some-odd yard field goal. I said this in the chat. Was it the right call? Yes, it was. Is that call the reason why the Cincinnati Bengals lost that game? No, it was not. because there were a lot of other factors. They lost that game as a team. There were a
Yeah,
lot
they
of
did.
other factors. They had their chances. All I would say is that as a referee, I probably wouldn't have made that call because to me, I don't think it was egregious enough to call in that moment. I don't think it was egregious enough to call in that moment. Like
Uh,
I'm just one of those guys that I don't, as a referee, if I'm a referee, I don't want to be the reason. I don't want to be part of the outcome. I don't want to be the reason why said team won, or I don't want no part of the outcome. And I guess for me, yes, Mahomes had taken a step out of bounds. I guess for me, I felt like Asai's momentum was just kind of going, and it's just as a natural reaction, he's coming towards him, and he pushes him, and I don't think he pushed him extremely hard, but I think because of his momentum, it kind of made it look harder than it was, and obviously it sent Mahomes flying. I don't think Mahomes faked it or nothing; it sent him flying. But I just don't think. Me personally, I just wouldn't have thrown that flag. And I don't think I think that had he not thrown it, I don't think it would have, you know, I I, I just would have rather have seen them go to overtime possibly and let these two teams, decide for themselves who go to the Super Bowl. Anyway, besides all of that, um, Joe Burrow he was 26 or 41, threw for 270, and he ended up with two interceptions. Even though I think it's crazy to me because even though I don't think Joe Burrow played his best game, if nothing else, this Bengals team is going to fight. Like like
they're tough.
they are
They're a
tough.
tough team.
They are, and they're a tough young team. Like they're not a bunch of veterans. You know what I'm saying? Like they made one long run last year, but they're a tough,
And
resilient
they're
young
fearless.
team.
And they're
Yeah.
fearless.
Yeah, a tough, resilient young team. With obviously we know all the talent they got on offense. A bunch of guys who are always overlooked on defense, but you look up and they're right there. I think even with Joe Burrow not playing his best game, this game was right there for the taking for them. You know, they had their chance within the last 2 minutes, and they couldn't get a drive going. Kansas City's defense, which I think is the real key to this game. Kansas City's defense, in particular, the front four, front seven, Chris Jones, they had
Frank
themselves a
Clark.
day.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had themselves a day. They had 4 sacks in the first quarter, and they really just pressured Joe Burrow all night. They hindered them from really being effective running the ball. Joe Burrow was their leading rusher with 30 yards. They had 71 yards rushing as a team. So
Which that's such a big part of what they do offensively, being able to run the ball with Joe Mixon and Samaje Perine.
it is. And even with that, like they still almost like T. Higgins made huge catches. Jamar Chase made a
Chase,
huge catch on fourth down.
yeah.
Like even with all of that, like
I was like these.
like
I was like,
they're right. Like these
hey,
dudes
look,
are,
hey,
and they're young,
I was like, these guys got monkey nuts.
bro, and they're young. They're young. Like
Yeah.
I like even just watching that game, you're just like, okay, all right, that was the knockout blow. Okay, no, it wasn't. Okay, all right, okay, Mahomes. Okay, that was a knockout blow. Okay, no, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. Like, bro, and last but not least, Patrick Mahomes is the best player in football. Point blank. Period. Not quarterback. He's the best player in football. Like what he's done with this team, what he did Saturday on a bum ankle, on an ankle that the average NFL player is probably out 3 to 4 weeks. He goes out there, he throws for over 300, couple touchdowns. We still can't really say who is outside of Kelsey. We really don't know who his number one wide receiver is. Then he lost Tony.
Yeah.
And
MVS had a game.
He did, but he lost Tony. They were playing. What's the kid Kemp? Like Marcus Kemp. Marcus Kemp finished the game for them, and Sky Moore.
Look. Well, we know who Sky Moore is. We thought,
But I mean,
but you're right. He's throwing to a lot of. So, hey, can we agree what I mentioned earlier that the Jalen Hurts, Pat Mahomes argument for MVP was absurd?
Yeah, and you know what? I think at about, we'll say maybe at about week 12, week 13, I think I was one of those guys who I'll say this: up until Jalen Hurts got hurt, I thought he was in the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
But upon, even after Jalen Hurts got hurt, upon seeing Patrick Mahomes and the way he's finished the season and the way he's played in the playoffs, man, like as we've said numerous times, when it comes to quarterbacks, like, and this includes Joe Burrow now, when it comes to quarterbacks, like, it's Patrick Mahomes, there's a gap, and then it's, Joe, Josh, Trevor,
right.
Herbert, whoever else you want to put in there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But yeah, those are my thoughts, man. I mean, this Bengals team is going to be around for a long time. I think we're seeing the beginning of a rivalry that's going to be around for a long time.
Oh, I put that up on social media as soon as the game finished. Yeah. I said, birth of a rivalry.
Oh yeah. This is for me. This is Manning, Brady, of the future. So yeah, man. But what do you think?
I mean, pretty similar sentiments. Now I will say this: you have to call that penalty against the side at the end. Because,
and I feel so bad for him. I feel so bad for him.
And I do too, because not only the time. The truth is when you replay that, out. And I've seen them call that very same penalty when it was a bit closer to where you could say, oh, okay, the guy was still slightly in bounds and stepping out of bounds, but he was out. Pat was out. And I just think you have to make that call, unfortunately. Now, if you'll call, because my thing is, just like you'll call unnecessary roughness when the quarterback slides and the momentum is going and the guy hits him, you have to call that too. So it was just kind of that's just my take on that penalty. But outside of that, I would say that the game, it was a really good game. It was probably one of the best games I've watched, probably the best game of the entire playoffs, because it was going back and forth. Both teams had a chance. Cincinnati was so damn confident. But the truth is that they missed on a few opportunities. Really they could have put the game away. And it's crazy because usually in moments where Joe Burrow would shine, they had that interception. I think once they had that second interception by, was it Lewis? I forgot the guy's name on Kansas City. But once they had that second interception, I think that's what kind of made me think like, okay, this could really actually be Kansas City's game. And first of all, they gave Kansas City bulletin board material with that Burrow head shit.
They did.
I don't know. I don't know what.
But you know what? I didn't. Although I wouldn't have been talking so much. Even their mayor was talking crazy. But I knew the crazy part is you knew they were gonna come in there and back it up. They weren't gonna go in there and get smacked. Cincinnati.
Oh no! Oh yeah.
Even with all that, it was like, they're gonna go in there and back it up.
Yeah. No. They definitely came in there and fought, but I think that maybe I hate to say it like this. I think usually they've banked on being the more physical team in their last three matchups. Whereas in this game, Kansas City came with it, especially on the defensive end of the ball. This was probably their best defensive performance I've seen all season.
And Cincinnati felt because they were down 3 linemen.
Yeah, they felt it
because Kappa didn't play, Jonah Williams. So I mean, they felt it.
Yeah, and I'm glad to see Chris Jones having the MVP impact, the defensive MVP, defensive player of the year type impact that he needed to have for them to win this game, and that he's going to have moving forward once we talk about and eventually talk about a Super Bowl championship. So. I mean, just a well put together game plan, and it was some questionable officiating, a repeat third down. I've never seen that shit a day in my life. But
I still don't understand what happened there.
So
Like I don't
apparently,
know what I missed. I still don't know what happened there.
apparently the play was blown dead, but the official wasn't able to get there on time to stop the play. But I'm like, it's just
And
it's a whole
although Cincinnati stopped them on third, they converted on fourth, I believe it was, right?
They stopped him again. I think they had a sack, and then it wound up being a holding in the secondary.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
By Eli Apple.
Right.
Obviously.
Yeah. Who MVS was giving the business to.
But you know what? I'm not mad at people get mad at Eli. I'm not mad at Eli Apple for talking this shit. He can talk as much shit as he wants to.
I mean, but he's he's not that guy. Like
there's been improvement. No.
Not New Orleans,
but he was
Eli Apple, but
but he was the number one corner on a really good defense for most of the year. I mean, and the reason why I say he has every right to talk his shit is because everybody wrote him the fuck off and left him for dead, myself included. And the truth is can you expect a dude to come back from the dead and not talk his shit?
Yeah.
I know we both this guy isn't a top 5, top 10 Pro Bowl corner, but I mean, let's be honest, in the league, there's been plenty of corners that haven't been great, but they were big time trash talkers, or they just played their role. What's with Cortland Finnegan? I think Cortland Finnegan might have made one Pro Bowl. Yeah. Big time trash talker, right? So Eli Apple, I think I'm happy that he got his confidence back, man. I hate to see guys come in the league and get broken. So his shit talking doesn't bother me. I'm actually entertained by it.
Word.
He said Cabo on 3. Lord forgive me, that's terrible. He said, "Oh,
and now he's going."
Yeah, now he is. But yeah, just to kind of, I guess, wrap things up on this game, man. This is what a championship game is made of. This is what it's supposed to be. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see that on the NFC side, but these teams are going to go toe to toe for quite a while. But I think Cincinnati is going to have to now. Next year is going to be interesting for them moving forward, because now they're no longer the youngest that people are underestimating. I think that's long past.
Oh yeah. Now,
well, past that, now the expectations are there. So now Cincinnati is a legitimate Super Bowl contender now, year to year. But they have to. So they have the pressure to meet expectations, and also. That window, even though I think the Joe Burrow is great and they'll always be in contention, the truth is, if they're going to take advantage, they better take advantage within the next 2 years, because you're going to have to resign Joe Burrow. Thank God. Watch this. You're going to have to resign Jamar Chase, not this offseason, but after next, because now receivers are getting paid after 3 seasons. Like CeeDee Lamb will get a contract offseason. But here's the thing. T. Higgins was drafted with Joe Burrow. So are you going to sit on T. Higgins for the rest of his contract? Are you going to pay T. Higgins? Are you going to pay T. Higgins after Jamar Chase, even though you drafted Jamar Chase a year after T. Higgins, and T. Higgins has been productive? So you have a lot of stuff to figure out.
As much as they all seem to get along, I mean, wide receivers got egos too.
They got to get their money, right? So it's going to be a lot of interesting stuff to come up when they have to start addressing these contracts. So that could be something that changes the trajectory of this team. And they got Jesse Bates, who they never paid. Let's not forget about that. Jesse Bates has been,
I still think there's a few things to address on the offensive line as well. Like they got it better, but I think there's a few things to address there as well.
Well, they were actually, I mean, you could look at some upgrades, but the truth is they were actually playing pretty damn good before Leo Collins went down.
I was just going to say, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but they only signed Leo Collins to a 1-year deal, I believe, right?
I don't think so. I think they signed him to a deal.
Okay. I thought it was like 1 year, $3 million, or 1 year, $5 million, or something like that.
You could be right. Let me see. It's only one way of finding this out. But I thought they signed him to an actual long-term deal, like a 3-year deal. He signed a 3-year contract. He signed a 3-year contract. Yeah.
3 year. Okay.
He signed a 3-year contract. So like I said, this team's going to be okay. Kansas City, man, this is probably the least talented but the most well-rounded Kansas City team we've seen.
Yeah.
They just look so different. But what we saw Patrick Mahomes do, man, like he is really putting his name up there, like amongst the pantheon, like of quarterbacks in the history of this game, man. Like,
And I mean, if he hypothetically, if he wins this Super Bowl, that's two Super Bowls in was this his fifth season?
5 years, and he's been in the and by the way, he's I don't
He's
think
been
he's
in
ever less than an AFC
the
championship.
AFC Championship game. Yes.
Like so far, if you were like his career is so far is, I mean, I hate to
He
say
has
the word,
legit,
immaculate, almost immaculate.
legit a Hall of Fame career in 5 seasons.
Oh,
What
if he
doesn't he
retires,
have? He has a ring, an MVP,
if he
All
retires,
Pros, AFC
Super Bowl,
Championship
if he retires now, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer
for sure.
if he never plays a down ever. So, it's going to be exciting. And obviously, next week we're going to do a lot more diving into for Super Bowl predictions and things. We got our Super Bowl pre-show coming up, and yeah. So I mean, it's going to be a lot of good stuff. We're going to see if some of these guys can get healthy. I know Kansas City. I know they got a lot of guys banged up, especially on the receiving end, and maybe looking at Philly. I know they
they got some guys. Lane Johnson still a little banged up.
My guys nursing. Jalen Hurts.
Hurts isn't 100%. So, but I mean, the beautiful thing is they do get that extra week to prepare. So, either way, it's gonna be not to say too much, but that Super Bowl is gonna be a hell of a game. That's gonna be a competitive game.
It's gonna be a competitive game. So what we'll do is we'll definitely jump into next week and we'll analyze it and we'll pick it apart, and look at some possibilities and see if we take the same team, maybe we don't. I'll be interested. So yeah, man. I mean that is pretty much it. I think today was really short and sweet. Championship weekend, talk a little bit of NBA, but for the most part, I think that we're really trying to wrap the NFL never wraps up because I've already started my pre-draft. I already started my NFL mock draft, and I'm gonna start looking at prospects. You know me, I'm a draft junkie, so I've been on that. Yeah, I've already started, and when I'm like sitting at home or if I'm bored or whatever, I'm already looking at highlight tapes and pros and cons and highlights and lowlights. But yeah.
Oh, well, I'm gonna have to hear that, man, because I'm interested to see what you think my Bears will do with this number one pick. Although I believe by draft time they won't have it, but we'll see.
I agree. I 100% agree. I think that they're going to trade back. But if they talk like people talking whispers of them trading, I said, man, if they trade him, that'll.
No. But I think and I'm not gonna go too long on this. I think they asked me this in the chat, and I said this though, and I'm not going not to get too far off topic, but I do think this though. I think the Bears and Justin Fields may hate this, but I think in order to truly up the value of that number, I mean obviously it's the number one pick, but in order to
they have to sell quarterback. They have to make people think that they're going to take a quarterback, so somebody wants to trade up and take it. Yeah, you're right.
They have
smoke screen.
They have to.
You're right. Yeah. That's true. It's smart because they want to get as much value as they can for that number one pick. And then honestly, I think they got the number one pick. They could mess around and
I'll bring. Listen. I'm bringing Bryce Young in there. I'm bringing Stroud in, Levis. I'm bringing all of those guys in, and I'm gonna come out of that workout and say, they blew us away. and they very well may. Knowing I have no intentions of, but if I'm Ryan Poles, if I'm the GM, I'm coming out of there and I'm saying they blew us away. Because but you want to get as much from that pick as possible.
But I'll say this: worst case scenario. Let's say they absolutely did move on from Justin Fields. Let's say they did.
Mm-hmm.
If I were you, I'd stop being a fan. I'd be like, I'm good. Like I'm serious.
Look,
It comes a point when organizational dysfunction
yeah.
really like it. Man, it runs its course, and you just can't take it anymore. Like I've been plenty of times. I'm a Cowboys fan. It's like I had a moment. I said if Dallas loses in the wild card round and they don't fire Mike McCarthy, I'm done being. As a matter of fact, I said that on.
And
And
who
they
did
won.
they let go? Kellen Moore.
Which, by the way, I think we can talk a little bit about that really quick. I think he got a really good destination in
Oh,
Chargers.
what?
And it's gonna be good because here's the thing, we look at Kellen Moore, especially me being a guy that follows the Cowboys heavily. He did some great things in Dallas, and he unlocked a passing element of Dak Prescott that no coach ever did before. Not Scott Linehan, not Dan Mullen. Like he really gave Dak the confidence to really start throwing the football downfield. But I think ultimately, sometimes things run its course. And for the most part, we got to realize it was really peer-to-peer coaching. They were both backups of Tony Romo at the same time. So him and Kellen Moore were more friends than people really know.
Yeah.
So I think after a while, it got to a point to where you felt like it was time for both of them to part ways. I think that Dak Prescott's in a stage right now. He's going into year 8, which year 8 is very pivotal. That's where the excuses run out. As Peyton Manning for 7 years, he couldn't win, and it took him year 8 to win a championship. And I think Drew Brees the same. Not saying he's those guys, but even the greatest quarterbacks, after a while, the excuses run out. So I think it's time for Dak Prescott to put his big boy pants on. We'll see how he adjusts to a new coordinator or Mike McCarthy as the play caller. Lord help us. But Kellen Moore is going to go to a Chargers team we already know how talented Justin Herbert is. And that offense, at a minimum, I would guarantee it, that offense is going to be a lot more explosive and a lot more creative. Because I've watched them at times and I'm like, what do they do well on offense? Like I've watched them and I haven't been impressed by it. Their offense is so bland, which is why obviously they fired Lombardi. So inject some fun, some creativity, and he's gonna be like, and I hate to say this, I love my guy Dak. He's gonna be like, well, damn, the playbook is a little bit more open because I can run this play with Justin. I probably can't run with anybody, maybe a Pat, right? So it's just gonna look a lot different. But I think that sometimes separation is necessary, and I think it could benefit both parties. So I like that hire.
I totally agree. My only thing is for the Chargers, and obviously I think it's a win, but I just think I'm still not sold on Brandon Staley. I mean, I think this is a guy who was a defensive guy, but even with the load of talent that they have on the defensive end as well, I mean, they still got issues. You're up. I forgot what the score was to Jacksonville, and
they were up like
27-0, 26-0, and
24, 23, 24 nothing, something like that.
And you lose that, you know what I'm saying? I mean, that's my only fear. I feel like now he has this guy who offensively he doesn't have to worry about. He can lay it in his hands, and that'll be taken care of. But defensively, will he get the job done? But that's to be seen. That's still yet to be seen, man. But I do love the hire though. Great hire.
So fun. It's gonna be a very fun off season, and I'll keep saying that. But we're gonna see all these new hires. There's a lot of open positions, a lot of interviews going on right now. So I think it's gonna
be. I predict, and you remember how crazy free agency was last season. Matter of fact, I think we did an entire episode on free agency.
On free agency, yeah, it was nuts.
Remember how crazy free agency was last season. I think we might see a little bit more of that this season too. So,
most definitely. Look
forward to. But first, we gonna tackle the Super Bowl.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, one step at a time. So, but yeah, that's it for tonight. I mean, not really much. We will have next Tuesday. We will definitely put up the flyer, or you guys will see some promotion. Our Super Bowl.
Word.
And yeah, and yeah, man. Outside of that, you got anything?
Nothing much, man. Obviously, follow us on Instagram at Rooted in Sports. You can follow
Mhm.
us individually. My Instagram is I Swan underscore 0623. And then
Mhm.
King Tiberius Instagram would be Tiberius
Tiberia 519
0519.
or
Oh, the
519.
519, excuse me.
Yeah,
Tiberius
Tiberia 519.
519. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, give us a follow, get the Instagram page to follow, like and subscribe to the YouTube page. Obviously, get rooted in sports community every Saturday over Twitter Spaces. So that's definitely a place to be on Saturdays. That's at 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 2 p.m. Central Standard Time on Twitter Spaces. Rooted in sports community, and then obviously February 1st we got the
Sports
sports exclusive, the sports
podcast.
exclusive podcast. Now, the rebrand is
Mm-hmm.
coming at you hot, fresh, new fire, new heat, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's definitely something to look out for. So, if you're on YouTube, also go ahead, be on the lookout for that sports exclusive podcast. Go ahead and like and subscribe to that. And yeah, man, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be great, man. I know I can't wait for that first episode to drop, man. It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. Well, like I said, it'll be out in the coming hours. So just stay tuned for that. Check my profile. I have some updates, and I'm gonna put some promos, some promotional stuff up tonight. So it's gonna be
I'm
fun.
I'm sorry, I gotta ask. So who do we got up for the first episode? I gotta ask.
Well, the first episode is me. Um, just me talking topics, and then I'll have a guest. The second episode too. So just stay tuned. It's gonna be nice and fun. I give you a little sneak preview off to the side, offline.
Bet.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well there it is, everybody. Much love. Appreciate
Uh-huh.
everybody that did tune in and everyone that will tune in. And yeah, if there's nothing else, man, much love. God bless. And we will see y'all next Tuesday. And be on the lookout for that Rooted in Sports 1 year anniversary Super Bowl
Oh,
pregame
pre-show
show.
show.
So y'all be on the lookout. But anyway, much love. God bless. Catch y'all next time.
See you guys soon.